Recently, I've been reviewing quite a lot of EVs and PHEVs on the channel, and some of you complained I'm not doing enough fun cars. So, there's plenty of fun cars on the channel, and more are coming. Here's a list of 12 fun cars. Today, my list will include not just new cars, but also some second-hand ones. Some cars disappeared from the market, or I think the new generation is not as good as the previous one. Reviews of all the cars mentioned in this video are on the channel. There's a list, a playlist actually, and you wouldn't believe what it's called. It's called Sports Cars and Hot Hatches. Also, I'm linking to all the reviews in the video description. Now, in alphabetical order, we start off with the Alfa Romeo Giulia Quadrifoglio. This car's been in production since 2015. Somewhere along the way, Alfa added 10 horsepower, so now it has 520 of them. But the manual transmission disappeared from the online configurator. If you want a manual, you'd have to take a chance on the second-hand market. I know I complained that the Giulia interior looks a bit like a copy of BMW's cockpit from that era, and the boot aperture is too small. But the way the Giulia drives and sounds makes the current M3s somewhat boring. And when you open the bonnet of a Giulia Quadrifoglio, not because it's already broken, but because you just want to show off at your Cars and Coffee event, you can say this is practically a Ferrari engine minus 2 cylinders. Try buying a new Ferrari for less than 100 grand. Another kind of sort of value proposition is the Alpine A110. It looks like a Porsche Boxster, but it's more than 200 kilograms lighter. The 0 to 100 kilometers per hour time is 4.5 seconds. Instead of trick adaptive dampers, the Alpine comes with regular dampers and a double wishbone suspension setup. The car is stiff, but the suspension doesn't feel crashy. It's at home even on some less than perfect roads, and in the corners you can feel the car as the suspension leans slightly, allowing you to discover the threshold of grip. The steering is direct, quick, not over-assisted. There are 2 boots, there are bucket seats, and the brand's got a great history. Prices start at 62,000 euro. Now, I could do a separate episode just on BMW's sporty models, but let's focus on the bread and butter, the M3, which also competes directly against the Giulia Quadrifoglio. As of recent, the M3 has 2 new tricks up its sleeve. One is all-wheel drive or X-drive, which can be disconnected when you want to have fun, but under normal circumstances, it's better to put the power down in all-wheel drive mode. And the second trick is the recently added Estate or Touring variant. Now, big power and big boot is basically what the world needs beside cat videos on the internet. But if you don't want to pay over 100 grand for an M3, the M340i, starting at 75,000 euro, is a good choice as well. It's more usable, it doesn't stand out as much, and it doesn't have BMW's new signature beaver grille. It's a similar deal with the M2 and the M240i. The only reason to get an M2, as far as I'm concerned, is the optional 500 euro manual transmission. Otherwise, you can just get the M240i X-Drive, great little coupe with 911 Carrera 4 performance, but at half the price. Something a bit more family-oriented and also affordable is the Cupra Formentor. Forget the front-wheel drive eco variants and go with the VZ. It's got 310 horsepower, sub 5 seconds 0 to 100 km per hour acceleration time, all-wheel drive, and all this in a body that's relatively easy to find in the parking lot. Formentor's all-wheel drive is configured in such a way that you can even get some oversteer when you push it hard enough. The suspension is comfortable enough for daily driving, but sufficiently stiff to give you confidence when you're having fun. It's got good passenger and cargo space. Cargo space? No, cargo road. A better choice than the new Golfs. Now, it's been a while since I've driven a Ford product, but the Fiesta ST is currently only available on the second-hand market, and it's absolutely the best and the most affordable car, which is not an MX-5. It's got over 180 horsepower, sporty suspension, and very direct steering. It even has electronic diff. Stock Fiesta ST doesn't sound as much from the outside, but inside you feel like you're driving an F1 car. There's some sort of a membrane in the firewall which amplifies the engine noise going into the cabin. And if you want more power in a similar package, there's the Hyundai i20N. Its 1.6-liter engine produces 204 horsepower. The suspension is also very stiff. The electronic power steering has a sporty setup for better feel, and the i20N gets a mechanical diff. Proper stuff. Like the Fiesta ST, also the i20N can lift its inside rear wheel in sharp bends, and it's prone to lift-off oversteer. The only problem is a rather small fuel tank, so even if you're not hooning around a track, the fuel gauge drops quickly. Beat that for €26,000. Back in the day, sports cars were open-top two-seaters. The problem was that the British and Italian sports cars of the era weren't particularly reliable. That's why Mazda improved on that recipe and created a roadster which doesn't break down. I'd know because I own an MX-5 almost 12 years and there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. Now, the current MX-5, which is called ND, that means the 4th generation, it has underwent at least one larger facelift and some minor updates along the way. The 2-liter 184 horsepower Skyactiv engine likes to rev, and the tiny MX-5 is light and eager to accelerate from 0 to 100 km per hour in 6.5 seconds. Now, after driving the MX-5, the bigger and heavier cars stop making sense because lightness is not just about easier acceleration, but also about better handling, better braking, better fuel economy, and okay, the ND has a small boot and the cockpit's a bit too tight for my liking, but it's because the ND is going back to the MX-5 roots. Not everyone does weekly groceries in a roadster like myself here. Anyway, starting at €31,000, you're getting a great, stock, fun car, but there are also lots of mods should you want some. Now, Mercedes-AMG A35. I drove the pre-facelift version, and in my opinion, that's all the AMG you'll need for your daily driving. Sub 5 seconds, 0 to 100 km per hour, 306 horsepower, decent boot, suspension which copes well with most of roads. The car is agile, the steering is precise. AMG also has the best sound, but the A35 is relatively quiet until you put it in Sport Plus mode. On the plus side, it flies below the radar. And Mercedes has, in my opinion, the best infotainment system on the market. It's customizable, it's got good graphics, and it's easy to use. Prices start at €58,000. I'm adding the Porsche Cayman and Boxster to the list, not because it's affordable in general, but because it's affordable in terms of performance and quality it delivers. It's a car you can daily and you can track. The engine variants and options are plentiful. It's easy to get lost and to exceed any and all budget plans. But you're getting a car in which every corner is a sensory orgy. Regardless of the speed, driving the Cayman feels like by some miracle the front has endless grip. After every corner, you want to try taking the next corner even faster, even tighter. Porsche makes extraordinary cars, but steering and the manual transmissions are, in my opinion, exceptional compared to every other car on this list. Also, the price is exceptional, starting at €65,000. Now, while talking about the Hyundai i20N, I said, beat that for €26,000. Well, enter the Suzuki Swift Sport, starting at €25,550. It's a hoot to drive. It's great on long sweeping corners. The suspension is just a perfect blend of daily comfort and sporty driving. The gearbox has a short throw and the engine likes to rev, and the brakes are more than adequate. So, what's wrong with it? Well, soundproofing is subpar, visibility is crap, and in tighter corners, you wish you had at least an electronic limited slip diff. But treat the Swift Sport as a warm hatch, and you'll be fine. It's like the base engine MX-5. I was lucky enough to get a few track laps in the GR Yaris, but I have no road experience in it. Anyway, they all sold out, and now I see them for sale used for about €50,000. Also, the GR86 sold out almost entirely throughout Europe, though I've seen some cars with 0 mileage up for sale for around 40 grand. More than 230 horsepower, quick steering, rear-wheel drive. You want to take every corner sideways. Wonderful car, terrible seats. And last but not least, VW Golf, but not Mark 8. I think Mark 7, 7.5 was peak Volkswagen. And these were the last good GTIs and Rs. Comfortable, practical, fast enough, great around town on road trips and on twisty mountain roads. If you find a decent Mark 7 Golf GTI for about 25,000 euro, you'll have one of the last true hot hatches, and definitely look for a manual. Okay, so what did we learn today? Fun cars are mostly, but not exclusively, somewhat expensive. However, there's a lot to choose from in terms of skill and involvement. There are many more interesting propositions on the second-hand market, as Renault and Peugeot used to make some really great hot hatches. Remember the 2-liter naturally aspirated Clio RS? Those were the days. Okay, but it's not like there's nothing left. There's plenty to choose from, and it's just a matter of your priorities, basically. So, did you own any of these cars? Did you have some interesting adventures in them? Some fun roads you'd like to share with the viewers? Drop a comment below. Also, new listicles every last Friday of the month. If you have an idea for a list I should make, let me know. Maybe it'll be the topic of one of the future episodes. If you like my sarcastic, down-to-earth and possibly mildly amusing car reviews, join me every Friday at 3 p.m. Central European Time, and don't forget to subscribe and like this video as it helps me with the YouTube algorithm. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.